I want to start off today's episode by saying happy birthday to my mama. Mama, I love you. Happy birthday. I hope you have a beautiful day. And I will see you a little bit later. We'll get together. I'll cook a nice meal and we'll spend some time. I love you. Thank you for giving me life. I've been noticing something lately. Not big life decisions, not the obvious things, but the smaller things, the ones we keep not doing. Welcome back to Living on the Verge. Thanks for being with me here today. Today we're going to be talking about things like the email you haven't sent, the appointment you haven't made. It's literally a 5-minute phone call, and yet you've had it in your mental bank for like 2 months. The thing that you keep saying, I'll get to that. We all have them. For me, it's the usual: packages to be returned, boxes to be sorted out in the garage, that closet that I've been meaning to clean for months and months, the donations that I have in the trunk of my car that need to be dropped off. Or how about this one? Going to get your real ID? Yikes. I think I should get to that one soon. And what's interesting is those things don't just sit there quietly. They follow you. They show up when you're making coffee. They pop into your head when you're driving. They sit there in the background when you're trying to relax. Heck, last night is a perfect example of this for me. I woke up at 3 a.m. and I don't mean just, I opened my eyes. No, I bolted up out of bed, sat straight up, because I remembered that Easter's not too far away and I hadn't started working on the Easter baskets for the grandkids. I mean, I was that shook that it actually woke me up. And normally it's not that loud, but it's constant. So what is it for you? I don't know, but I'm going to share what it is for me. For me right now, it's tax prep. I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, and honestly, I keep going back and forth about why this is happening, which in and of itself is funny because it's adding yet more real estate in my head. Am I procrastinating because I don't want the answers? That makes no sense. If you think about it practically, they are what they are at this point. We're talking 2025 taxes, and everything has already been decided. It's just a matter of executing the realities of the numbers. Or is it because I'll officially be closing down my business and it feels so final and like such an ending that I may not be ready to face? And the funny thing is, I'm not even in charge of the hard part of taxes anymore. I just have to do the gathering, organizing, sit down with it. And with a background in accounting myself, I used to do taxes for years. And in fact, for years, I did taxes for others as well. But a few years ago, I handed it all over to a CPA. So it's literally not even my job anymore to do the worrying. But I do need to get the CPA the information to prepare the return. And it seems that that's where the bottleneck just kind of keeps on occurring over and over. I've noticed this pattern where I'm not doing it, but I'm also not thinking about it. You know what I mean? Where you're like, not today. And then all day, the thought is creeping in and out of your day. It's like it's just sitting there in the background. Maybe I moved it around in my calendar, or I told myself, I'll do it after I do this, or on this day, or tomorrow is going to be the clear block of time I'm going to give to this project. And if I'm really honest, the amount of time I've spent thinking about doing it has already by far exceeded the time it would take to just actually sit down and do it. And that's the part that caught my attention. And it made me realize, hey, I think there's something more to this. And so, me being me, I delved in a little deeper, and lo and behold, there are scientific reasons why some of us do this. So let's talk a little bit about what procrastination actually is. So the definition is as follows. Procrastination is the voluntary delay of an intended action despite knowing that the delay will likely make things worse. And so I thought about that, and after thinking about it for a little bit, I realized at its core, procrastination, it's not a time management problem. It's an emotional regulation problem. You're not avoiding the task. You're avoiding the feeling associated with said task. That changed everything. And so I'm going to share a little bit about what I researched and what I found out is actually happening in your brain. So there are basically two systems in our own brains that are competing. Number one, we have the emotional brain, which is the limbic system of your brain, right? And that part of our brain wants comfort, and it doesn't want to avoid stress. It likes everything to be nice and neat. It does not like uncertainty or discomfort, and it reacts fast. But then there's the other side of our brain, and that's located in our prefrontal cortex. It's the rational brain. And that's the brain that plans and prioritizes and thinks long term. And that creates a conflict because when a task feels overwhelming, unclear, boring, or even emotionally loaded, as in the case of one of today's stories, the emotional brain says, nope, not now, and it wins. So why does avoidance feel so good, at least in the moment? Well, when you delay something, there's actually scientific research that shows that your brain gets a tiny hit of relief. And what's that tiny hit? You've heard this before. Dopamine. Our brain releases a small amount of dopamine when we delay something. So our brain naturally learns avoiding this equals feeling better right now. And that's how procrastination becomes a loop. You think about the task, it creates discomfort, you avoid it, you get the temporary dopamine relief, your brain reinforces that avoidance, the task is still there, but this time with more weight. Isn't that something? Avoidance doesn't delay things, it expands them. That's not just insight, you guys. That's literally how our brain encodes it. And why this keeps coming back in the form of this mental load that has some of us bolting upright in bed in the middle of the night? Well, again, there's a scientific reason behind it. Our brain is using something called the Zeigarnik effect. This means unfinished tasks stay active in your mind. So even when you're not doing the thing, your brain keeps looping back. It keeps kind of pinging you. It never fully closes that loop. And that's why it's not always loud, but it's always constant. So apparently I was onto something. It's all neuroscience. And there are by far some tasks that are way harder to start and some that we procrastinate a lot less than others on. But there are certain tasks that trigger procrastination, and they all have these sorts of things in common. For example, ambiguity. I don't know where to start. How do I even begin to take this on? Or emotional weight. Is it a hard conversation? Is it about money? God forbid someone's health is involved. Or maybe there's no clear endpoint. And so the task just feels endless. Or sometimes it could be because it's an identity threat. What if I don't handle this well? What if I fail? So our brain chooses short-term relief over long-term benefit. In other words, you guys, we're suckers for that quick dopamine hit. And it's not just me. I have a feeling we all do this to one degree or another. So I'm going to tell you a story. I have a friend who's been avoiding something for a long time now. And we've had so many conversations about it. We've talked through it from every angle. What if we go this way? What if you try this? What they should do? What might happen if they do this or that? What the timing should be. We've revisited it over and over again. And at some point, I had this thought. We have spent more time talking about the thing than it would have taken to just do the thing. Think about that for a second. And I don't just say that from a place of judgment. Truly, I don't, because I can see myself in it, and I think we all can a little bit, right? But what it made me realize is this, and there was that thought again. Avoidance doesn't delay things. It simply expands them. It gives them more power. And I saw this whole thing in a completely different way recently. And so stick with me. It can also have this sort of unrecognized ripple effect. Another friend of mine had a situation where their child really needed to talk to them. And in listening to them tell me about it, it kind of felt like it was going to be one of those conversations that was going to be kind of heavy, not necessarily urgent, but important. And instead of just sitting down and having the conversation, it kept getting pushed. The child kept rescheduling, delaying it. We'll do it tomorrow. Now's not a good time. I'd rather talk to you face to face. And every time I would talk to this friend, I'd follow up. I'd ask for an update. And we'd speculate over and over, what could it be about? And what ended up happening was the stress didn't stay contained. The child is waiting, so the child is stressed about this situation, and the unknown is just sitting there. Unknowns are rough, right? And so other people can feel that something's off, and then everybody's worried. You know, the spouse is worried, the friends are worried and wondering, and suddenly something that might have been a 20-minute conversation had turned into days of tension. And like I said, not just for my friend and not just for the child, but for all of those around them. Days of wondering, days of carrying it, days of this ripple effect. And that's the part that we don't think about. Folks, avoidance isn't neutral. We see it as, let's just neutralize the problem for now and it won't exist. But it doesn't just pause something, it multiplies it. Because while the thing sits there, your mind keeps returning to it. You revisit it. You rehearse it in your head. You imagine how you're going to handle it. You carry it. And I want to give us a little bit of grace here, because it's not because you're lazy. It's not because I'm lazy. It's not because my friend's child is lazy. Most of the time, it's because there's something underneath it. It feels uncomfortable, or maybe it feels unclear, or you're not sure how it's going to go. We think we're avoiding the task, but really we're avoiding how it's going to feel when we're doing it. We're avoiding the feeling that's underneath and behind the task. I heard something recently and I thought it was really helpful. I'm actually going to do a full episode on it because I think there are some fantastic ideas there and I thought this would be really cool for me to be the guinea pig. But the simplest part of the idea was this: get it out of your head. Isn't that simple? Just remember that. Get it out of your head. So, what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, let's just make a list. Let's sit down and write out a list. And here's why. Writing a list actually works because when you write things down, you reduce the cognitive load in your head. Your brain no longer has to hold everything. Number two, you create a sense of control, even if nothing is yet done. It's down on paper, you've taken control. And number three, you partially close the loop, which reduces mental tension. That's why it's scientifically proven that people fall asleep faster after writing a to-do list. It's been studied. It calms that open loop stress. So I want to challenge you to do this. Sit down and write it all down. Everything that's been sitting there, everything you keep thinking about, the phone call you need to make, the real ID you need to get, the package you need to return, the birthday phone call you need to make, or maybe you need to rearrange some part of your schedule because it's no longer working and you just keep putting it off and it's making things worse and worse. Everything that feels unfinished. And you guys, the purpose of this exercise is not to solve it. It's simply to get it out of your head. And you're not going to finish this all in one sitting, but I promise you that if you start your list, you're going to feel better. Your brain will feel more quiet after this exercise. So do it just to get it out of your head, because your brain doesn't actually need everything done. It just needs to know that it's somewhere. And I think a lot of what we're feeling is not the weight of what we have to do. It's oftentimes the weight of just carrying it all around mentally. So instead of asking yourself, when am I finally going to get everything done? Maybe the better question is, what can I take out of my head and put somewhere else? So get it out of your head. Isn't that fantastic? If you're listening to this, there's probably something in your life right now that you've spent more time thinking about than it would actually take to do it, right? I don't know, maybe it's the packages you need to return. Maybe you need to finally call and get the trees trimmed, or you need to make the appointment to get your dogs to the vet. Or what about that dental cleaning that you've been putting off? Or, oh my goodness, it's time to get the kids signed up for summer sports and I haven't even taken the time to look at the program. Whatever it is, just get it on paper. And I'm thinking you've probably spent more time thinking about it than it would actually take to do it. And so don't try to fix it. Don't try to get it all scheduled and done in one day, or even to try to solve everything. Just write it down. Make your list. Get it out of your head and onto paper. Because I'm not kidding when I say this. I have a feeling that the thing itself might not be what's exhausting you. Once I got my list done, I realized it was not the things that I have to do that are exhausting me. It's trying to keep track of all the things I have to do in my head and how long it's been going around in circles and living in my head, taking up valuable energy and real estate that honestly could be better used elsewhere. And once it's out, you get a little bit of that space back. You start to earn a little more of that real estate in your head back, and it becomes more peaceful. So I want to leave you with this. Before you try to fix everything or figure it all out, just sit down and write it out. Get it out of your head and onto paper, or maybe your notes app, because sometimes it's not the thing itself that's exhausting. It's how long it's been living in your head. My list is done, and I'm telling you, it already feels a little lighter. And I go back to it every time something's rolling around in my head and I write it down. And immediately I feel a little bit better. And I'll be honest, a lot of things have not been crossed off my list, but they're not rolling around in my head anymore because I know the list is containing them for me. And so for right now, I'm off to work on those taxes. You go write your list. And until next time, I'll be right here living on the verge.